Somebody once said that the best way to predict the future is by studying the past. And when we look back at the last 25 years, one thing becomes very clear. We have lived through a massive revolution. So many things we use every single day did simply not exist back then. For example, electric cars, smartphones, social media, Netflix, Spotify, and even this very platform that I'm recording on was merely considered science fiction. And if you look closely, many of these breakthroughs share one thing in common. At some point we stopped guessing and we started measuring. Cars, for example, now tell us tire pressure and battery health. Our phones track our steps, our sleep, and our location. And algorithms, they know things and they know what we like before we do. So the world has shifted from speculation to data. But there's still one major area where people are mostly guessing, and that's the personal health. But that is about to change permanently. We believe that in 25 years from now, nobody will take supplements without proving that they work. It will feel as outdated as driving a car without a dashboard. Everything will be tested, measured, everything will be documented. And taking a test before starting a supplement routine will not only be a trend, it will be the norm, the only logical way forward. And that brings us to today's presentation. My name is Cisco Balbontin, and I appreciate you taking the time off your busy schedule to hear this Enzino story. Today is about taking a look into the future, understanding how you can improve your health in a measurable way, and how you can also benefit from and leverage what we believe the next wellness revolution. This presentation is designed to show you the big picture. That means we won't go deep into every technical detail of how your body and your cell works. And we won't break down the income potential to the last cent. Those details do matter, and we will talk about them later. For now, the goal is understanding. And if we manage to spark your interest further, the person who invited you, who shared this presentation with you, will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. So let's dive in.
When it comes to our health and diet, the biggest issue we face today is the overconsumption of highly processed foods and the omega-6 to omega-3 imbalance it causes. To keep it simple, on the left we see natural nutrition from 100 to 150 years ago. On the right we see today's industrial diet. And what changed is not just calories or sugar. What fundamentally changed inside our bodies is the ratio of two essential fatty acids, EPA and DHA. Essential meaning that your body needs them to function and survive. You have to either consume from food or supplement them because your body can't make them. In simple words, omega-6 promotes inflammation and omega-3 reduces inflammation. Our ratio used to be 1:1 in the body. 1 part omega-6, 1 part omega-3. Today, that ratio can be 15, 20, 30, even 40:1. This didn't happen because people suddenly made bad choices. It happened because of industrial food. And this is important to understand. This problem looks the same all over the world. Africa, USA, Asia, Europe, the same supermarkets, the same industrial foods, just different branding. That's why this is not a local issue. It's a global problem. Now let's look at what this does on a cellular level. On the right, we see a healthy cell, elastic, flexible, functional. This is the cell that performs. This is the cell that ages slower. All of this has been proven in studies. On the left, we see a cell with too much omega-6. The membrane becomes hard and rigid. Nutrients enter poorly. Waste exits poorly. What happens in the background is something called silent inflammation. These are processes we do not feel. They stay in the body for 10, 20, 30 years. Over time, they lead to diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, multiple sclerosis, but also eczema, psoriasis, eye problems, cholesterol issues, immune system problems. Basically everything. It also affects cognitive performance and concentration. Topics like ADHD and burnout play a big role here. And this is where most people go wrong. They look for solutions only when symptoms appear. They go to the doctor and get medication. Instead of first asking a much simpler question, what is my omega-6 to omega-3 balance? The real danger is this. Most people don't even know whether they are in the danger zone. Why? Because they have never measured their omega-6 to 3 ratio, and medical professionals are for the most part completely ignorant about this subject. That's why the situation is not improving and getting worse worldwide. The solution? Testing and proof. That's why, together with Vidas, a world-leading laboratory in Oslo, a test was developed, the Zinzino Balance Test. This test, together with 3 additional tests, has now been taken over 1.7 million times worldwide. It is the largest database of its kind for fatty acid measurement. And the result is very clear. 97% of people do not have healthy fatty acids values. Not because of genetics, not because of age, because of industrial food. So if you think you have a healthy diet because you eat fish and walnuts and flax seeds or whatever, and perhaps you even take omega-3 every now and then, I urge you to think again. It's not that easy and simple to achieve optimum omega-6:3 ratio with foods. Here's my offer. If you are very certain that your diet is great, do the test. And if your result comes back with an omega-3:1 ratio, or better, we will refund you the money for your test. No risk. It's an anonymous test you can do from the comfort of your home. You'll keep a test code with you and use that to check your results online. Once you take the test, you will receive your results after 10 to 14 business days. So perhaps for the first time, you don't guess if your diet is good or your supplement works, but you will actually see the result. There's a 97% chance your test comes back negative. And then comes the crucial part. You start using our balance oil, and within 120 days, we can bring those values back into a healthy range. Why 120 days? Because red blood cells renew once in that time. After 120 days, you take the second test. The second test proves the result. Not belief, no opinions, not guessing, just data. We have seen this work in hundreds of thousands of tests. You will also receive a 21-page test report covering mental strength, inflammation values, immune system, omega values, and cell function. Now, very briefly, why our balance oil is different. Zinzino balance oil is a combination of different omega-3 sources and antioxidants. The game changer are the polyphenols from pre-harvested olives. They keep the product fresh and protect the essential fats from oxidation. It is designed to pass the test, deliver results, and get you back in balance. It works 7 to 10 times stronger than standard fish oil products. That makes it a real game changer. This is why people never go back to guessing. You take omega-3, you do a test, and you realize the supplement you've been using for months or even years barely did anything. Once you know what actually works and what brings you into balance, going back to guesswork just doesn't make sense. Our target group is endless. It starts with pregnancy, it continues through the entire life, and it becomes especially important when we want to reduce aging and decline. There are strong studies supporting this. We also have over 100 elite athletes who support this voluntarily. Champions League clubs, Olympic champions, world champions. They didn't join because of marketing, and they have no monetary advantage by promoting Zinzino. They measured, they improved performance. Now the important question becomes, who built a global concept around this test-based technology before the market demanded it? This is where Zinzino comes in. Hilde and Örjan Sele started Zinzino in 2005. Back then, Zinzino was not an omega-3 company. They were at the forefront of bringing coffee pods into households, at a time when that idea was still completely new. People said coffee pods for at home wouldn't work. People said it was too early. But Hilde and Örjan were right, and yes, they were early. That matters, because it tells you something about the DNA of the company. Zinzino doesn't wait for trends. They move before trends become obvious. In 2013, Zinzino discovered what would become the core of everything: the balance concept. The realization that the real problem in health was not supplements, it was the lack of measurement. From that point on, Zinzino positioned itself at the intersection of testing, data, nutrition, and they stayed there. Since then, Zinzino has delivered over 20 years of consecutive growth, and last year alone, the company delivered a 51% increase in revenue growth from 200 million to 300 million euros. Today, Zinzino is a Scandinavian Nasdaq-listed company with a AAA rating, operating in over 100 markets worldwide. The company has also paid dividends for 12 consecutive years, which is unusual for a growth company and signals long-term financial stability. So this is not a company chasing short-term hype. This is a company thinking in decades. And when you think in decades, growth cannot rely on chance. It has to be deliberate, it has to be strategic, and it has to be backed by capital. That's why the next phase of Zinzino's journey includes targeted acquisitions. Not to buy growth for the sake of headlines, but to accelerate scale, acquire capabilities, and build the infrastructure required for what comes next. Let's talk about where this is going. By 2028, Zinzino is targeting $1 billion in revenue. By 2035, $10 billion. By 2050, $40 billion. These are not marketing slogans, and you don't get there by standing still. You get there by combining vision with decisive capital. They are also based on the global omega-3 market, the shift to test-based nutrition, and the fact that once people measure, they don't leave. There is one more critical piece when we talk about the future of omega-3. Demand for omega-3 is growing globally and will continue to grow as more people move from guessing to measuring. But the world cannot simply keep scaling fish-based omega-3 forever. The oceans have limits. That means the companies that will lead the future are not the ones that market the loudest, but the ones that secure sustainable raw material supply first. This is why Zinzino partnered with leaders in sustainable algae-based omega-3 production. Algae is where omega-3 originates in nature. Fish are only a carrier. By investing early in algae-based omega-3, Zinzino secured a scalable, sustainable, and independent supply for the future. This is not a short-term decision. It is a strategic move that transforms Zinzino from a supplement company into a long-term biotech and nutrition platform. Another investment in the future, another long-term plan, and, in our view, another genius move. The timing is perfect. Every global megatrend follows the same adoption curve. It starts with innovators, then early adopters, then the early majority, then the late majority, and finally, the laggards. Here is the key insight. The real value is not created at the beginning and not at the end. The real value is created when a trend moves into the early majority. That is where companies scale. That is where standards are set. That is where serious income is created. Right now, over 500 million people worldwide already use omega-3. As you can see, this is not a niche, not a trend, not biohacking. And yet, 97% are still not in balance. The global omega-3 market is projected to reach around $200 billion by 2035. A trend so big that it will transform the nutritional industry into a trillion-dollar industry. Every global megatrend crowns a leader, a brand that becomes the standard. Apple became the standard for smartphones, Facebook for social media, YouTube for online video, Zoom for video conferencing, Netflix for entertainment, Tesla for electric cars. And when a new trend is formed, the market does not get split evenly. Typically, one brand takes 20% or more of the entire market, because people don't want 10 standards. They want one they trust. So the real question is not whether test-based nutrition will happen. The real question is, who will be the brand? Who will lead this trend? Who will dominate the future $200 billion omega-3 space? That growth will not come from guessing. It comes from test-based standards. We are entering the early majority phase of test-based nutrition. Historically, this is where industry leaders are defined. Now let's connect this vision to how value is actually created. Let's go back to the companies we mentioned earlier. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, Zoom, completely different industries, but they all share one thing in common. They are all built on subscription-based models. Subscriptions create predictable revenue, long-term customers, and massive company value. That is true in entertainment, software, and services. But in health, something even more powerful happens. With entertainment, people stay subscribed because it's convenient. With health, stay subscribed because it works. Once someone has tested their blood, seen the imbalance, followed a clear plan, and then retested with measurable improvement, quitting makes no sense. They are not loyal to a brand. They are loyal to proof. Switching would mean going back to guessing. Zinzino's subscription model is designed exactly around this logic. Customers stay because they get the best prices, they receive ongoing benefits, they can qualify for free products, and they retest to stay in control of their health. This is not forced loyalty. This is rational loyalty. Personally, I still have my very first customers on the product from when I became a customer nearly 3 years ago. Not because of me, because the test convinced them, and this is where long-term income is built. Retention. Now let's talk about how the money works and how you can be part and leverage this growth. The Cincino compensation plan is not just an income plan, it is a wealth creation plan. It is built on recurring customers, subscriptions, long-term retention, and duplication. This is not about quick wins. This is about building something that lasts, something that grows, compounds, and can be transferred to your family. Cincino has two income channels. The first is the customer channel. You earn from subscription volume up to 30% on online purchases and up to 50% with direct sales. Cincino handles logistics, billing, and customer service globally, so you don't have to. The second is the team channel. This is where you build a network and participate in overall company growth. And timing matters here, because the company is currently scaling from roughly 200-300 million toward 1 billion in revenue. So how do people actually start? You have different starter kit options. Most people begin with an ultimate partner kit that includes products and tests. Why? Because with the UPK, you position yourself for success and capitalize on the compensation plan. The ultimate partner kit is not a risk play. Cincino offers a full refund on the partner kit for up to 1 year if the required activity is met. Wait, what? A full refund? Yes, you heard that right. That is unique in this industry and shows how confident the company is in the model. The UPK comes with 10 tests. 10 tests mean 10 people see their own data. And with 97% out of range, one test usually means one result. We build with a very simple duplication model. You help 2 people start, those 2 help 2. That's the 2 plus 4. That's all we do. Teach and duplicate. 6 people, a small team. And from there, step-by-step growth. Building your business this way, in the first max 120 days, can put up to 4,000 euros in your pocket. We had people doing this in half the time, and some even in their first 30 days. Income ranges start small and scale without a ceiling. There are early bonuses like phone and car bonuses, trips, and long-term participation incentives. Teams openly show documented results, with ranks earning from a few thousand up to mid-5 figures per month. Leadership positions include share options with real ownership in the company. Proud to say that our team is the fastest growing team within Cincino, and the numbers speak for themselves. Over 110,000 customers in roughly 48 months speaks volumes in terms of quality of the product and the system we use to build the business. So let's close with the big picture. The world moved from guessing to measuring. Health is the last major frontier. Omega-3 is already mass market. Test-based nutrition is entering the early majority. Subscriptions create retention, and retention creates long-term income. The question is not whether this trend continues. The question is whether you position yourself early. Now, if you want to predict the future, you got to study the past. What has changed and what never did. And remember this, the people who are crazy enough to believe that they can change the world might just be the ones who do. History is being written and your future is watching. This is more than a choice, it's a turning point. The next move is yours. Speak to the person who invited you, get your questions answered, and decide your next step.